Well, since it is the holiday season, we tend to watch more holiday themed shows, and I don't know about you, but I can't believe the Hallmark Channel has that many holiday themed shows. They've been running them since freaking Halloween, 24/7, but they're on. I always like the ones that had the characters in them made out of clay that seemed to move. Clay animation, it's called. And as baby boomers, we probably remember Gumby, who was the Gumby and his horse Pokey, who were clay animation figures. And I thought they were quite good. And Gumby, looked a lot like Eddie Murphy. Anyhow, this is a very painstaking job to do this and move all these figures. And we figure we need to know how this is done. So we found us a professional. Randy Boyum is coming to us from Colorado. Randy has so many credits under his belt. I'm going to let him talk about them. But Randy's going to explain to us what clay animation actually is. Thanks for joining us, Randy.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, first of all, how did this start? You said that you started with clay when you were like 8 years old or something. And when I was a kid, I used to make my own flip books, where the thing changed and you'd flip through the book. But you're doing that in a three-dimensional style. And, I quickly learned I couldn't make a living making flip books. But what made you think that you could do a living making clay animation?
Well, when I was a kid, my brother and I dabbled with it a little bit. We had a little Super 8 movie camera the family had. And we loved the old Ray Harryhausen monster movies, Jason and the Argonauts and all that stuff. And we fooled around with it a little bit. And ideally, in stop motion, that's what I'd like to be doing is the monster stuff. But to build those creatures is a mind-numbingly boring and toxic and smelly and expensive process that I just couldn't deal with. And so I thought, well, clay, Gumby and Davy and Goliath and all those sorts of things would be a lot easier to deal with and a lot less expensive and a lot less, messy and toxic. So I dabbled with it in the 70s. And then in 1989, I was actually a limousine chauffeur. And a buddy of mine that was also a chauffeur one day walked into the office and said, last night I found this old Super 8 camera and movie projector in my closet. Do you know anyone who would want such a thing? And I said, I'll take it. And just because that happened, I started fooling around with animation again. That summer I made 4 little 3-minute films that were basically balls rolling around on tabletops and in nothing, pointless, no story, just things moving to see what it was like. And then just a couple of years after that, I discovered a clay animation company here in Denver that was working on music videos. And I glommed onto them real quick. And working through them and with them, I learned how to make real armatures out of wire that would hold the weight of the clay. Because when I tried doing stuff earlier, I used like a G.I. Joe doll, covered it with clay, and that simply doesn't work very well. And so I learned how to build a wire armature and put clay on it and just started working. And I was a video production manager at a video company, corporate work here in town called Image Audio Visuals, which is where Caroline and I met. And I started using video to shoot animation immediately so I could see it. Prior to that, everything was shot on film, and you move the character and you click the frame and you hope for the best and don't get to see it till 2-3 weeks later when you get it developed. But when working on video, you can see it immediately, and that was a game changer completely. Since then, they've invented things called frame grabbers, which is a computer program that grabs the frame and you can instantly flip back and forth to see how your work is progressing. And so I was able to switch over to that I believe it was in 2000.
That's Carolyn's nickname, by the way, the frame grabber.
I'm still stuck on the G.I. Joe doll with clay on it. That's brilliant. Anyway,
I learned early on that Gumby had a wire armature inside of him. Maybe
Yeah.
because because I was a twisted little boy. So
That's
I
between
actually,
you and your psychiatrist.
I'm the only
Well-
one that actually took Mike Gumby apart.
Wow, mine
had a
melted
boat.
right away in the fire.
They have a tendency to do that. The characters that I've created all will melt if you set them in the sun. The bodies are soft. Let me see if I can find one here that I can look.
At Santa, right? So you guys are going to have to be sure to check out the video of this. I know you're listening to this on audio. Almost everybody listens to us on audio, but we have done a video of this recording because that way Randy can show us how his little characters move and stuff. And that looks exactly like the Santa from Rudolph, the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Did you make this one and just model it exactly after the one that Rudolph had?
Yes, I did. In 2007, I was contacted to some local producers here in Denver who wanted me to do a spoof of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for Larry the Cable Guy. And so they provided me with a soundtrack, and I built the set and all the characters and then did the animation according to the soundtrack that they had sent. And so this is just one of the 7 characters that I built for that. And all of them have a wire armature inside. Santa's actually got a styrofoam ball that's the base of his stomach, because he's heavy already, but he'd be crazy heavy without something a little lighter on the interior.
Could be the reason he never had kids, too.
Do we know that for sure?
No, elves are all adopted. No, they're all adopted.
Oh, okay. From another country, obviously.
Lumpaland.
Here's the tip of the wire armature that's inside Santa, and so I can move his arms, and the whole bodies of all the characters are covered with soft clay, which is oil based. It's called plasticine. The brand I use is called Van Aken, and it never hardens. I have characters that are over 30 years old that you can still move like the day I made them. But the heads and the hands of all the characters are made of hard bake clay that you bake in your home oven. It's called Sculpey. And that way, when I build a head and then I'm doing the animation, I don't squish the head accidentally, change the shape and all that stuff, because it's hard and it's permanent. And I can also clean it. When you use soft clay for heads, they get dirty. And if you clean and scrape them and stuff, they can actually change the look a little bit of what they looked like originally. So
I think I noticed their faces moving, though. You have like their faces change their expressions in some of your films. So do you make a bunch of different heads?
No, I have different hard baked pieces that are removable. So eyebrows, eyelids, pupils in the eyes, and mouths. I see Santa lost his mouth, actually. I don't know where it went. Are all hard-baked pieces made with that same hard-baked clay, but they're I use a little tiny bit of wax, and then I'm able to stick them right onto the hard-baked head, and then I can move them around and animate them. And that's how I deal with that.
This is so cool.
The thing I was most impressed with when I was looking through your resume and such is how much time it takes you to do everything, from creating the characters to doing the thing. And I'm thinking, good Lord, that must make these things incredibly expensive. Maybe that's why we don't see more of them.
That is absolutely true. It takes a really long time. And when you're animating, of course, you move a little bit, frame at a time, and you shoot a frame and move. But the thing is, as a solo artist, I don't have a staff. It's just me. It usually takes me longer to build everything than it does to do the actual animation. Depends on the project, but just building the set and building the characters, it takes about 3 days to sculpt and build all the pieces for one character. And so, and then I got to build and design the whole set and put that together and set up the lighting and deal with the camera angles and such. And then I start animation. But if it's a really long piece, then the animation does definitely take longer. It just depends on what it is that I'm having to deal with.
How much of your craft has been displaced by CGI?
An awful lot of it. The whole industry kind of shifted it was pretty much after Jurassic Park. When Spielberg made dinosaurs, everybody went, wow, this is what you can do with CGI. And it's kind of less expensive to hire a whole staff that are just sitting at a bunch of computers and typing than it is to have to build a whole warehouse full of all these different sets and multiple characters and such. And but the thing is pretty much because of frame grabbers, stop motion has made quite a bit of a resurgence in the last 10 to 15 years, because people can do it at home, and you don't have to have a lot of super specialized equipment to deal with it. You can go online and get free programs that'll deal with it for you, and it made it a lot more user friendly, basically.
So you can actually hire a Clay Animator on Fiverr.
I probably haven't been to Fiverr, but sure.
Wow, because we were thinking we could use like a 30-second thing of the three of us, and we've got, I think last count, we got like $60 a piece. That's 180 big ones. That's my commission that we would love to pay for something like that.
It's about a penny a frame.
I was gonna say, the eyeballs in all my characters, well, except for the Christmas ones, are usually marbles. And so for that price, I could make the eyeballs for all of you guys.
That would be good. I've been told I've lost my marbles, so I would love to have some more.
I got a bag of them in the back, some spares. I'll send you.
So we're going to definitely put the link to the Rudolph redo. It's fantastic. That little animation, it's, almost 4 minutes long. So how long, so you were hired by a company and with an audio by Larry, the Cable Guy, who, by the way, plays the Burl Ives character, the snowman. It's hilarious, you guys. How long did that whole project take you? Because each individual piece, two of them move together at the same time and their little faces move. It's amazing how you did that.
That piece was done in 2007. They called me in, I'm thinking it was early July, and they wanted it done by mid-September, which gave me a heart attack. And after I started working on it, they kept sliding the deadline forward. Oh, wait, we need it a week earlier and a week earlier. And I kind of lost my mind on that project. And it really was like the most stressful thing I've ever done. But at the same time, I was able to take shortcuts. I didn't do as much animation in that piece because of the deadline as I would have liked to. The opening shot is the snowman coming down a hill and talking and gesturing. And that one shot of just this guy coming down the hill took about, I'm thinking that one took about 12 hours for me to shoot. And when I showed them the footage the next day, they were like, yeah, this is great, but you'll never get done. And so all the rest of it, the second shot is a close-up of, let me grab the snowman. Larry the Snowman. The second shot of him was about this tight, and he's just moving along down a hill. That one was easier because you couldn't see the base of him and the snow around him and stuff. And then after that, every shot after that is pretty much just a static shot, and he'll slide in, talk to somebody, and slide on out. And that's just basically because of the deadline, what I wound up doing with that film. But it was still a great deal of fun, and it was quite an honor to animate to Larry's voice, because he's such a pro and has done a zillion, cartoons. He does Mater, that truck, and so his voice is just really animated and worked really well and gave me a lot of inspiration to deal with this. Also liked making this little, vest with the torn off sleeves and the red or the orange cap. It's very Larry. So.
Now, I watched one of the films, or I guess it was a business promotion on your YouTube channel, and it was entitled, I think, the worst business meeting ever. And I've been to meetings like that, man. I don't want to give away the surprise ending, but it's really good. And now, was that made to show like at a convention? Because I used to do a lot of those little interspersal things to show at a convention, to lead in from one session to the other, and that's what dawned on me is that's what that was made for.
Exactly. The thing about that is I worked at Image Audio Visuals as a cameraman and the production manager all through the 90s. In late 99, in Animation Magazine, there was an ad that said, work at Will Vinton Studios, which is, the claymation guy. So I sent in my reel and I quit Image and I moved to Portland, Oregon to work at Will Vinton Studios. And I worked on a TV show called Gary and Mike, which was a half-hour stop-motion sitcom about two guys that were traveling across the country, and every episode was in a different city. And it was young and raunchy and kind of funny and weird, but created by the guys who created Mad TV. And so when I finished that project, I moved back to Denver and was wondering what in the world I was going to do with myself. I had no plans, and I thought maybe I could do freelance camera. But my old boss at Image called me, and one of their main business clients was a group of doctors, Medical Education Collaborative. And they had conferences every year. And they called and they said, one of the things that they taught was how to give a proper business meeting. They contacted Image and said, we want a couple-minute cartoon that is a business meeting gone horribly wrong. And so just based on that, they just said, like people coming in late or eating or phones ringing or pagers going off, things like that. And so just based on that little bit of information, I created the film 10:04 a.m., which actually I changed on YouTube to A Business Meeting Gone Horribly Wrong at 10:04.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the piece.
John Cleese used to do a bunch of those, and so did the Muppets. I've seen it in different meetings and such, the little in-between pieces. But that was the first one I'd seen done in Clay Animation.
So you were working with Mad TV, Randy?
No. The two producers, Adam Small and I can't think of the other guy's name, but they're the people who created Mad TV. Also created this TV show called Gary and Mike.
Oh, okay. Because because Mad TV had a Rudolph also, where it was where it was like a gangster. It was like a god. Yeah. It was a Goodfellas takeoff with Rudolph.
Yeah, a lot of blood, a lot of clay blood. That's a man named Corky Quick. It's either Quackenbush or Quakenbush. I've never been certain of the name pronouncement, but he did a whole bunch of pieces for Mad TV, just little short films. Most of them were violent. Clay violence can be pretty darn funny.
Yeah, sure.
I was just thinking, redoing like Casino or the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. That would really be cool to see.
But, it's 2020. I think we should create one called Suicidal Santa.
We'll have him on next week.
Oh yes.
Now, what's your ultimate job? If somebody came up to you and said, "Budget is whatever you need, the project is whatever you need, make us a film for the ages."
My characters, I created these characters back in the early 90s, and they're called the Hoovies. They are Scandinavian. They live in Scandinavia. And my background is Norwegian. That's where that came from, basically. This is Atle Hagerstad. And him and his cousin, Lars Bjornsson, get into a bit of trouble and some strange things. And there are 4 films that I've shot, short films. 2 of them are super short, like 20 to 30 seconds long. But I actually have a feature film script that I wrote starring these characters. So that would be the project that I would jump all over, where there a giant pile of money and a whole bunch of other animators I could get involved with.
Oh.
Would be the movies, yeah.
So Will Vinton was in Portland. Wasn't the group that did Coraline, weren't they also in Portland?
It's the same studio under a different name.
Oh, okay.
Will Vinton was gangbusters and huge all through the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And then basically there was some financial problems with the studio. And the owner of Nike, his son, Phil Knight, was an animator at Will Vinton Studios. He was a very good animator. And his father, the owner of Nike, whatever his name was, I don't, let's see, actually, Phil Knight was the owner, Travis was the son. had actually invested in Will Vinton Studios. And then there were some issues that I'm not really sure what happened, but basically they bought out Will Vinton Studios, changed the name to Laika, Laika, and they produced Coraline and Paranorman and Box Trolls. They've done like 6 films now as the studio Laika.
Well,
and a lot of the people.
If your dad owns a studio, you don't have to be a good animator, though, huh? But in this
well,
case,
he
he was
to start with, so that was handy.
So it sounds to me like this Will Vinton guy is to clay animation what Jim Henson is to puppets. Is that true?
Absolutely. He was a remarkable, incredible man who did amazing things and really elevated the whole art form to a whole new thing. He created a short film, I believe it was in like 74, called Closed Mondays. And it really was just an experiment.
I remember that. I know that one.
Yeah. And that was the first stop motion film that ever won an Academy Award. And it was brilliant. It was, a drunk staggering through an art gallery, looking at different pieces of art that came to life. It's a great little film.
But speaking of awards, you were just part of the Denver Film Festival. Yes. Tell me about your award. I'm so proud of you.
Well, I did not win an award for Denver. I was just happy to be part of the group. But I was in a film festival called Mountain Shadow, which was in Walnut Creek, California. Oh. And I actually took 3rd place for a film my most recent film, which is called The Extinction of Up. And that is, let me see if I can grab them, starring these 2 characters here. And the whole film is 5 minutes long, and these 2 kids sit next to each other on a bench in a park, and they never speak except through text, sitting right next to each other. And the film's called The Extinction of Up, and that's why nobody ever looks up anymore. So it's a 5-minute film that has been in now 5 different film festivals. Aww. I just was notified a couple weeks ago of another one, and 2 days ago they sent me a notice saying that I was nominated for Best in Genre for short animation films for that film or that festival as well. So it's a whole lot of fun. I haven't had a film in a festival for 24, 25 years now.
Tell me about it. I did come up just in talking with an idea that I think will raise enough money for your dream project. Now, you said that these things, if you put them out in the sun, they will melt. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you make 2 more clay animation figures of just pick a couple of politicians that might come to mind. You put them out in the sun, you slow motion capture it, and you put that up there, and depending on which side you were for, you would buy that in a heartbeat.
There you go.
If you don't have that much time, put them in the microwave. You could do the whole thing in about 4 seconds.
And the wire armatures inside will be great.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, the sparks will add to the effect.
It'll be pretty.
Well, Randy, we are so thankful to have you on here. And where can people go to learn more about you? I know you have your YouTube channel that has a whole bunch of videos I've been watching on there. Tell them where they can best find you.
My company is called Random Animation, but that was taken years ago when I tried to set up a YouTube channel. So it's Randy Boyum Animations, and that's my YouTube channel, and also my Facebook page, where I have a lot of behind-the-scenes photographs and links to films and other nonsense that I've done. I also have what I call Clay Animemes, and they are behind-the-scenes shots referring to the clay characters as clay actors, and they're all complaining about various things about what they have to do with their jobs.
Cool. And that's Randy Boyum, Boyum, just so you spell that correctly. It's like Goyum, except he's Norwegian. So it's Boyum.
Same thing.
I did that joke just barely. And yeah, you got to go on his YouTube channel because there's some really, really good stuff on there. Randy, thank you so much for proving once again that baby boomers can still accomplish big things in life. We hope that these festivals lead to more fame and fortune. And, don't forget that $180 is still on the table. So times get tough, you let us know.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Randy. Well, that was a fantastic conversation. I mean, we really, this is one of our, I'm glad he's not on the air right now. This is one of our best ones ever. And I don't want to swell anybody's head, but that was really good. I've always been fascinated by that stuff. And I would never, ever have the patience to spend on a project like that. If it's not something I can get done in 5 minutes, that's why I write jokes. I can get done with those real fast.
It's why I don't make cookies from scratch. You can buy them at the store and slice up the tube. That's how cookies are made. To take each one and form it into a ball. I can't even do that. So Randy blows me away. He really does.
Well, this is the first of our holiday-themed shows for this year. Next week, a very, very special guest you will also not want to miss. I don't want to give it away right now, ho, 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 but, it'll be, people go, they're going to have the Green Giant? Anyhow, that's it for another week here at Another Day Above Ground. Tim, anything to leave the people with?
Just check out my other podcast, Rule of Three, with Bent Washburn and Tim Schlegel.
All right, Carolyn, how about you?
Yeah, be safe when you go shopping. Do shop from your local retailers as much as you can, because they can really use our help right now.
And I would invite you, if you like to laugh every Friday, to go to daleirvin.com, IRVIN, and you can sign up for the Friday Funnies. Comes to you every week in a written and a video form. That being said, go out and enjoy the rest of today, because it is another day above ground.
And that's it for Another Day Above Ground. For Dale, Tim, and Carolyn, I'm Farad Muhammad. Thanks for listening.